Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Dr. Eljamel, if indeed he even is a doctor, was the brain surgeon at Ninewells Hospital in Dundee. More specifically, he is the butcher of Tayside. He operated with reckless abandon and destroyed people. He destroyed their lives and their abilities. Some people have been left unable to talk or have difficulty with motor function. This guy should never have been in that position. He fled the country, and there are attempts now to extradite him back in order that he may stand trial for the awful things he's done. This is a terrible thing, and people are rightly angry, or indeed furious, that this was allowed to happen, despite many, many people, both outside the hospital and within the medical profession themselves, saying it was wrong. This, though, should not be a political football to be kicked around in the arena of the political world. It is not ammunition for party politics. And yet, for Amy Callaghan, an SNP MP, that is exactly what it is. This and the tainted blood scandal are being used by her to say that an independent Scotland would have mitigated this and there would have been no medical crises like this in an independent Scotland. First of all, yes there will. Secondly, we've seen how bad the SNP have treated the NHS, so if anything it may well have been worse. And thirdly, by ignoring the Cass report and the fact that there are many, many thousands of people launching a class action against the Tavistock Clinic, to which the bill will be billions, Scotland is lining itself up yet again for more medical negligence claims, this time on SNP policy, not Westminster policy. In Westminster, they're putting protections in. In SNP Scotland, they're removing the protections that are already there. Let's take a look at this terrible woman and her absolutely lying ways when she says that medical trauma and medical negligence would be a thing of the past in an independent Scotland. Here goes. So, Eljamel victims fury as cynical SNP look to use infected blood scandal to boost independence hopes. They're using people's suffering and misery as a political football. They're saying, look at us, this would never have happened under us. Have you seen the NHS under the SNP? It will have happened many more times. They can't run the NHS now. What makes them think that without the oversight and money from the rest of the United Kingdom, they'd be any better? Who knows? They've got 800,000 people sitting on waiting lists now. They are understaffed, overworked, and the waiting lists themselves amount to several years. And she says that there'd be no medical negligence. I don't believe a word of it either. Amy Callaghan MP has been accused of gross insensitivity and lying, I will say, after she appeared to claim medical scandals would not take place in an independent Scotland, and to which the answer is bullshit. We know full well it would. An SNP politician has been branded disgusting after she attempted to score political points over the infected blood scandal, and victim of disgraced brain surgeon Sam Eljamel have moved to remind Amy Callaghan that Scotland is not immune to medical wrongdoing. And as I say, with the whole of the untransformers, the ones who want to go back, they are suing, and it's going to be billions. And the same thing will happen in Scotland. And their Sandyford clinic is still open. And at the same time, and we'll have a look at that later, they're removing protections already in law against this sort of thing. Ms Callaghan looked to use the scandal to boost flagging support for independence. Scots victims were among more than 30,000 people who were infected with deadly viruses between the 1970s and early 90s when they received blood transfusions or blood products while receiving NHS care. Blood that was never checked, blood that was never tested, blood that was just put in randomly. And of course it's tainted lives. It's killed many, many people. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak issues an apology in Parliament on Monday, and he promised that he'd pay up. We watched the apology yesterday, and he said that they will pay in full, and they'll do so quickly. There'll be no real delays on this. It's just a case of sorting out a way of, what's the word, delivering on the promise quickly. And I do believe he will, because this is a sort of thing that needs to be covered and put to bed. Now remember, through that time, it wasn't any one government. There was Labour and there was Tory, so it's all governments. This wasn't a governmental or political issue. This was a health service issue, which is why I think people on all sides, Parliament, yesterday agreed that would be the case. There was no real disagreement between any of the parties. It's one of those things, on those few rare occasions when everyone is on the same side. Reacting, Miss Callaghan, the MP for East Dunbartonshire, said another scandal at the hands of Westminster, another in a very long list, so many lives lost and many more in tatters. It is only with independence we'll be free of Westminster scandals for good. What a pile of crap. Elgemel worked for the NHS under the SNP. Do you think that wouldn't have happened if Scotland was independent? Her comments enraged Julie Rose. Jules Rose, my apologies, Miss Rose, a victim of Elgemel who worked for the NHS Tayside between 1995 and 2014. It's thought as many as 200 patients may have been harmed by him, some of whom suffered life-changing injuries in botched surgeries. Man called himself a brain surgeon. He was nothing of the sort. Miss Rose had a healthy tear gland removed by the surgeon instead of a brain tumour. She's led the campaign for justice and on Wednesday will lead a protest in Dundee to push Police Scotland on taking criminal action against the medic and NHS Tayside. Yeah, they are desperately trying to get him back. He's sodded off and he won't come back because he knows he's in trouble. She's previously accused the Scottish Government of ignoring victims. Miss Rose and Miss Callaghan's comments were an example of gross... Miss Rose said Miss Callaghan's comments were an example of gross insensitivity to the patients of the butcher Elgemel, one of the greatest health scandals in Scottish history. Yeah, the butcher at Tayside, and there he is, looking all smug with himself. Look at me, I'm a brain surgeon. Yeah, I'd have stuck to rocket science if I were you, mate. Miss Callaghan would do well, she said, to come to our protest in Dundee on Wednesday and speak with patients to educate herself. We've been completely failed by the Scottish Government, NHS Tayside, Police Scotland and the Crown Office. Miss Rose went on to say that Miss Callaghan was guilty of a shallow and cheap shot. Tory MSP Stephen Kerr called Miss Callaghan's statement awful, for awful it is. Now this guy is... he's out now. He went, and I think he's gone North Africa, I believe. Somewhere there. Tunisia, perhaps. Because he had to get out of Dodge very, very quickly. Now, while he was working for Nine Wells, he had many complaints from patients and from colleagues and carried on. The NHS did not inspect him. They did not audit him. They did not check his credentials. Nothing. And if he could not tell the difference between a brain tumour and a healthy tear duct, then he has no business being in an operating theatre with a scalpel in his hand. I'll come up. I don't suppose anyone will be too surprised by this. We all know that there is literally no depth to which these people will not sink. The SNP are degenerate, unfeeling, sociopathic, and basically don't care. All they see is power and money, not people. People don't even enter into it. For them, it's all a power game. Let us see after the next election how little power they actually have. Vote them all out. Even if you're an SNP supporter, look to what they're doing. And do you really want to be represented by people like this? Because if you do, then you too must be a psychopath. They have got literally no compassion or empathy with anyone. Thanks very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I will speak to you later. Thanks. Bye.